Hello, welcome back to the Lovers of God series. My name is Paul Breathen. Let's see, this is probably the 8th video on the series, if you count the introduction. If it's the 7th, if you're just looking at the relationship paradigm. So I hope you find this to be very valuable in your walk with the Lord as an individual, and that things start to make sense for you in regards to how do you live your life. And so I want to focus on something along those lines. How do you live your life where you experience a sense of peace and joy, love, the things that we value, meaning and purpose. Really, this is what everyone is kind of in search of. We want to have that, that dream, of a wonderful life. Well, there is something to be learned that as lovers of God that we have to figure out. So let's go back to this issue of, let's go back to the Garden of Eden. And the whole idea of what's the mystery of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. What is it that we need to learn from this? Because it has great value, great meaning. All of God's creatures, whether they're angelic beings or human beings, have this knowledge, this turmoil between good and evil. And there's wisdom to be learned in this paradigm or paradox of two forces at work, and they're definitely important and critical in the paradigm relationship to have meaningful, loving relationships. And so what is this mystery? What is this knowledge that we need to learn? Well, here it is, and this is something I think people just don't really understand and focus, is the idea of evil. That we believe that our happiness and joy is found in evil. This is you may go, well, that doesn't sound right. Why would I want to choose evil when evil is horrible and bad? But this is the point, is that we believe that in doing something that we know is wrong will give us happiness and joy, apart from believing that in goodness will you find happiness and joy. So let me give an example. I have a privilege of parenting all over again. I'm in a relationship where I have now parenting they're 13 and 11 years old, 13-year-old boy and 11-year-old girl. And so through the years, I've been able to, just have this great, wonderful relationship with them and teach them about life and that we're lovers of God. But the issue of good and evil, right and wrong, good and bad, as a parent, you're always trying to teach them how to be good. I don't teach them how to be bad or evil. That comes kind of naturally. And why is that? Why is it that when you look at parenting kids, they know right from wrong because you're telling them, don't do this and do that. Yet they always have this tendency to want to do things that they know are wrong. Why? Because they think and believe that their way, contrary to what you're trying to teach them as being good, will give them a sense of pleasure, joy, and happiness. This happened pretty recently. The two of them were involved. Had this building project of building a dollhouse. And this is kind of like a family project. And one of their tasks was to paint some of the furniture and just putting on some of the primer. And so we had to set up a shop outside. And we live in an apartment complex. And so we have this little cove area where we could set up like a little tent, and we're building, and I'm cutting wood, and they're painting things. And so I left him out there to paint things, and I was inside doing some other things. And it was the next day I go out there, and they painted more than just the pieces of furniture we were building in part of the house. There's a structure that holds water tanks, and so they have these poles, and they're painted in black, and they were working in white paint. And so they decided to paint the pole and the ladder, right? For whatever reason, they were having fun. They were enjoying painting everything that they could find. And so I confront them. Who painted this pole and this ladder going up? You can see the brush marks all over. And I talked to Michael, who's 13. I said, "Did you do this?" And he goes, "No, I didn't do that." Right? I talked to Georgie. "No, I didn't do that." Well, there you go. I know I didn't do that. And Teddy, my wife, wasn't around painting. The only other two were one of you. But they're lying. Why would they lie? I mean, it's this issue of lying, issue of wanting to do their own thing. And of course, lying is a way to avoid any kind of consequences to something that they knew wasn't right. They knew that. When I asked them about it, he's not supposed to paint the boat. Yeah, but I didn't do that. So, and the thing that isn't so much that they're painted the pole. What is more offensive, and we know this, is the lying. It betrays trust in the relationship. It wounds the relationship. And so trying to teach them, right, that choosing lying to get what you want will not bring you joy, peace, and happiness. And this is something that we as people in living in this place is, why is it that we think and we believe that taking the shortcut, stealing, lying, cheating, betraying, coveting is about seeking pleasure, that this will give us fullness and joy and happiness, and that's the wisdom that you need to learn between good and evil, that evil never can ever give you true joy, peace, and happiness. Only the way of goodness for yourself as an individual, in relationship with others, in the community, in a nation, and in the world. That goodness, and it's why they call it good. Goodness is the way of joy, peace, and happiness, not evil. Okay? And it's interesting that in the garden, getting back to the story of the garden, the tree, right? What is it that was appealing to Adam and Eve? They saw the fruit, and it was what? They saw it as a way of goodness. It was pleasing to the eyes. It was desirable to have gained some of this wisdom. So once again, they picked because they thought it would give them those things. Joy, pleasure, desirable. It was good. They saw it as justification in their own mind. Oh, well, this isn't bad. It's good. It's a lie. Okay? And when they ate of it, of course, it brought death. And the thing that's that evil always brings death. It brings a disconnect, okay, to relationships. When they lie to me, my children, it brings a disconnect. It breaks us. You can see them pulling away. You can see them in a sense of shame or guilt, or they don't want to get close because they know they've done wrong. It separates us. And this is the four anguishes of the soul I've been talking about. That sin at some point will bring shame, will bring fear of judgment, of punishment, of suffering, self-contempt, the anger towards others who won't allow you to do what you want to do, or anger towards yourself. And then finally, the hunger, the longing. Okay? There's never enough. There will never be enough to satisfy the hunger or the longing. Okay? So this is the issue. that we need to realize that sin always brings contention between two people, between you and God. And gets back to this is what God was always struggling with us and with Israel, and when Christ came, is that he said, look, if you will just believe in me, the truth that I have to give, okay, you will keep my commandments, if you will follow me, if you will come to me, restore the fellowship that we have, the intimacy in our relationship, that you will find the joy that you desire, that you will find the peace that you long for, and that the hunger and the thirst of having a satisfied life will come in our relationship with one another. Because God is good. He defines goodness. He knows the way of goodness. He is life. That means eternal life, the life that we gain such substance from, some sense of like fullness and livelihood. He is that life. He's good. He's love. The love that we are meant to experience. Okay? So, learning that way will never ever work. There's something within you. You have to come to this awareness and resolution that sin is never a choice. It's just never a choice. The choice is the love of the Father and the goodness with Him. It will never bring me to happiness. And when you find yourself stressed, overworked, unhappy, look at where you turn to find a sense of relief and satisfaction and pleasure. If it's not the abiding place of the Father, then you know you have given your heart and your life to the, quote, sins, okay, the sins that you turn to give you a sense of relief or comfort. Okay? Those are the things that the Father needs to remove from you. See, to turn your heart, to turn your soul towards Him, to be the thing that you long for, and the comfort and the desires and the passions and those things that you're seeking. It's in that relationship. I think religion has led us down a wrong way of thinking, a path that cannot solve this issue of sin. And I'm talking all religions. All religions have their way of what they call sin management, managing sin in your life. And what they often do is to have a list of things you do and things that you don't do, and spiritual exercises to help you avoid the sins and the miseries and the things that entangle your life and bring suffering, right, over here, by if you do this over here. And the way that they manage sin is somehow, if you're strong enough, you can become strong enough to resist it. That's what religion teaches us. Become strong enough, inward self, change the way you think and the way that you act, be strong so you can resist. When in fact, it's not that way. What one should do is to be happy enough to not want it. It's a totally different thing. Not about being strong enough to resist, but happy enough to not desire it, to not have it in your life, to not even want to choose it. Because you're choosing evil, right? You're choosing sin with the belief that somehow it will give you happiness, give you what you want, give you the things that you long for. And the wisdom between good and evil is to realize that's a path that will never work. And Jesus talked not about being strong to resist, but about finding joy in Him. Jesus talked about, this is the abiding place. He says, look, just as the Father has loved me, I've also loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, okay, you will abide in my love. You will abide in me. See? And he says, these things I've spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full, may be complete. They come into the resting place of, there in Psalms 23, there's the idea of a cup that is not half full or even to the top. It's overflowing. And this is the thing, joy, if you only know the joy, this overwhelming joy that I have, okay, that's what keeps you. That's what prevents you, right, from wanting to give up that joy in the goodness and intimacy of the Father for anything else, the sin. So to overcome sin is not to be strong enough to resist, but happy enough, joyful enough in the relationship with the Father to not even want it, to not desire it. If a man is hungry, the only way to take away the hunger is to eat. And when you're full, the temptation to want to eat more, to have a pie, goes away. You're full. You're content. I don't want any more. I can't eat anymore. Well, the joy of the Lord will fill you up. And when you're full, you don't want anything else. You don't need anything else. That's the secret of dealing with sin. Not being strong enough to resist, but happy enough to not want it. Okay? So these are some of the mysteries and the things to learn when it comes to knowing the Father. Everything is centered on that. It's the place, it's the home, it's the relationship. And so as you abide in the Father, you will no longer have desire to sin. And a great, if you read 1 John, the whole letter talks about this issue, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about that in the next video. But I want you to just know that the pathway, by loving the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, okay, is the pathway to joy and to peace and to comfort and all the things that you long for. And that's the path of goodness and the love of the Lord, not sin and evil. It's a lie, it's a deception. It'll never give you the happiness and joy that you long for. Okay. Till next time.